If we then fast forward that 76 season to Fuji and Niki's withdrawal from the race, were you surprised that he parked it after a couple of laps, given that you'd gone into that race leading the World Championship by 3 points?
Okay, now you have to know the truth. And the truth is quite different. Because when we had the monsoon in Fuji, everybody understood that it was impossible to race. Just impossible, because the track was not a track, it was a river. And the water was not water, it was a cascade, it was like the Niagara Falls. And when you have a monsoon in Japan, it's really a big monsoon, But because of the fight between Niki and James to the last race, and Niki was still leading with 3 points, Bernie asked to Niki, to James, and to Emerson Fittipaldi, that was the president of the GPDA, to go in his office and to reach an agreement. And the agreement was, because at 5 o'clock we lose the TV connection,
That's right. It was being broadcast live for the first time, wasn't it?
For Bernie was a big deal, big money, etc., etc. So he said, look, we are going to lose everybody if we don't start the race. We lose with the TV broadcast, we lose with the organizer, because if we don't start the race, we lose the starting money, the promoters' money. All the team will lose money, and at the end, you lose money as well. So what I ask you is to start the race and to stop after 2 races. I want just that you start legally the race, okay? And then you stop, and I understand that you cannot race in such a condition, okay? They shake hands and they agree to stop after the start.
James, Niki and Emerson, all three shook hands.
Correct.
Interesting.
What I didn't know, and that you can read Maurice Hamilton book on Niki Lauda, that he made an interview with Alistair Caldwell, that with Teddy Mayer, that was the boss, was the team manager of McLaren, that when James came to the pit and say, okay, I start, but I have to stop, because I agree this with Bernie, Niki, Emerson, and I agree. Teddy Mayer, that was a lawyer, and Alistair Caldwell, that was the team manager, they say, James, if you do that, we kill you, your career forever. You will lose everything. You will lose all the money, and you will be a poor man for the rest of your life. If you do that, you are a dead man in sportive sense. So they scare so much James, but James cannot go back to tell Niki, because they are on the grid. It was raining like hell. In the interview that Maurice Hamilton made, Alistair Caldwell confirmed to Maurice Hamilton this story. That is the only true story. That was not in the Rush movie. That is the real story. So Alistair Caldwell, because Teddy Mayer unfortunately passed away, he said, yes, it's true. James came and said to us, I have to stop because I agree this, but we convince him in the good manners or bad manners that he cannot do that for the team. And Niki stopped after 1.5 laps. On the second lap, he stopped. My mistake was, professionally, I have to say, Niki, go out and wait that James stop as well. Don't stop you first. But under this rain, seeing Niki in the helicopter almost dead, seeing what he passed. So can you imagine if I force him to go out and he have because people were spanning, crashing. My heart was stronger than my head. I say to me, it's better one life than a world champion, But in reality, I have had to say, Niki, go out, go slow, but wait. Because in fact, after 15, 20 laps, like all the monsoon, decrease a lot at the end of the day of the race.
Do you think Niki felt cheated, the fact that he stopped and James didn't?
At the beginning, yes, but James was really a gentleman, and nobody know he was a good friend of Niki. So James explained to Niki what happened. So Niki forgive James. He lost the championship, but he won the year after for Ferrari, 77. He was champion again. And that is the end of the story. But the reality is that they agreed to stop with Bernie Ecclestone.
And how did Niki pulling out of the race affect his relationship with Enzo Ferrari?
At the beginning, Enzo Ferrari was supporting Niki's decision. But because the relationship with Niki were already damaged by the fact of Emerson Fittipaldi, the fact of Ronnie Peterson, the fact that we declare in an official press release that the car didn't suffer any mechanical failure, etc. But we already had a contract with Niki to race in 77. So as soon as he was sure to have the championship in the pocket before the last two races, Canada and Japan, he said, thank you, bye-bye. And he took with him two or three very important people from Ferrari, like Ermanno Cuochi, the chief mechanic, to go to race for Brabham.
Mm-hmm. Do you think Niki was even better in 77 than he was in 76?
No, I think the car was really good. I think that Niki in 76 was, until the accident, he was untouchable. Because you have not to forget another point, that in Jarama, the Spanish Grand Prix, James won with an illegal car. And Niki finished second with a broken rib. But at the scrutineering, they saw that the car was too wide and was to hide the rear wing and was disqualified. So Niki won Jarama, so he had even more points. But because Teddy Mayer was a very good lawyer, and not only the team owner of McLaren, they made a fantastic defense of the case that they show to the court, to the sporting court, that this little, in a Mickey Mouse circuit like Jarama, was not little, because to have the car larger a couple of centimeters and the rear wing higher 1 centimeter was a big advantage. But nevertheless, they made some calculation to demonstrate that the advantage was not so important to change the result. And they gave back in the appeal the first position to James Hunt. But Niki also won Jarama legally. And also only in Monza, because we had the Italian steward informed, because also the smell of the fuel of McLaren was strange. They discovered only in Monza that the fuel was with more octane that was legal.